Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday already. Wednesday, midweek, hump day. How is everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Christoph. Good morning, Anissa. Good morning, Sterling. AMC has been slaughtered. This diamond hands have been cut off and repossessed. Well, have they given up yet? Oh, well, thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Tomorrow morning, I do not know the start time yet. It is up in the air. So be prepared potentially for an earlier start time. Uh, that's all. If it was earlier, it would be around 7:30 Central. So just keep that in mind. Tomorrow is a mess. But I should be able to try to get something in. I do feel sorry for all the people who have lost what little they had. Well, we're going to see a lot more because people are going to keep holding other stocks that have run and run for a long time, and they'll probably hold them back down to 25 or below. Good morning, options 22, and they'll keep buying the dips all the way down because that's the theme that got them there, and that's the theme that will take them out back and take them to the woodshed. Okay. Where do we sit? So we got some selling pressure coming in yesterday afternoon in the markets. We'll take a look at that this morning with the mortgage information come out. Look at that mortgage rate, 7.31 on national average. Well, what do we have coming out after the open? We have the S&P manufacturing services and composite PMIs 15 minutes after the cash open. We have new home sales 30 minutes after cash open. Then we just pretty much get the crude numbers, and that is it. Jackson Hole officially kicks off tonight, but nothing really going on till tomorrow. The PMI numbers coming out of the Eurozone were bad this morning. Everything is in contraction. So you're seeing the dollar rally, the euro fall, some of the yields fall in over in Europe. So that's what we're watching this morning. Also, this dollar also will put upwards pressure on the markets. I mean, downward pressure on the markets. Sorry, downward pressure on the markets. You see here, Tesla pulling back after it's bounced and then reversed and filled the gap yesterday. NVDA was a pretty big reversal. NVDA earnings after the close today. Energy still continues to pull back, breaking some key supports. So I'm watching for the bigger pullback now in there. We had Peloton earnings this morning. Peloton getting crushed. Fine, we're going to get eventually near my $2 price target. What else do we have? Oh, Advanced Auto Parts. That's one to start keeping an eye on longer term. But let me refresh this. It was consumer cyclical with Tesla getting hammered. The consumer cyclical and energy are the two big down ones. Com services, healthcare, basic materials. It might be somewhat of a rotation into some more safety today. Fed Watch Tool, still the highest odds for any hike is back down a little from yesterday, but still at 37 or 38% in November. But we'll have to see. I want to see how this changes after Powell speaks at Jackson Hole, and Powell speaks on Friday. Still in neutral zone on the Fear Greed Index. As I said, Peloton getting crushed. AAP, again, start looking on a weekly or monthly basis, especially if it pulls back a little into this potential double bottom territory. I'm not saying it has to be the low just yet, but it is something I'm keeping an eye on. That is pretty decent for a longer term company once it gets, especially if we go into recessionary times and if it can find a bottom, because people start to do service their own cars a lot more. As I said, NVIDIA after the close, NVIDIA price beyond perfection, so just be careful with that one. Because I told a number of people to be very careful. Got criticized a bunch on Monday when it was up 7%. Then it reversed yesterday. Still was up, but you got to be. This is turning into a gambling stock, so manage it as a gambling stock. Snowflake also, NetApp, Autodesk. But that's where we sit tomorrow morning before the open. We got Dollar Tree, which will be interesting from the lower end consumer. That's where that sits. Let's take a look at what's going on. Who else is here? The higher rates are slowing auto sales as well. I had to go get service on my car yesterday, and the dealerships that I was near were deserted. When we'll touch upon crude, is there a confirmed daily head and shoulders? We'll take a look at that. Morning, Alan. Thank you for tuning in and becoming more of a regular. All right. This officially, we had the percent beat buy pullback yesterday. We had the little turn. You had the turn and then the sell off again, little bounce and the sell off again in the afternoon. Hold on one second. There we go. Does this officially eliminate the percent beat buy? No, not yet. Now we're running into the weekly rotation zone, so I'm going to be watching the pre-market. We came up to my 44.38 level yesterday. I'll be watching the pre-market high for any breakout stuff. If we do break above there, 44.38 will be my minor level, but then 44.45 to 45.50. And then about 44.65 are the key levels. There's a lot of stock, even though we're in a clear path, we're at a lot of minor stocking points that we are against the rotation zone. Remember that percent beat buy when against the rotation zone is aggressive and only generally accounts for a 2 to 3 day bounce. So it was triggered one day, didn't do much yesterday, so we're going to watch today and tomorrow. Officially, where I would be looking for stuff at this point is if you take the lows. The most conservative stop is below the lows from the day that sets up the percent beat buy. I would be, though, again, can't give specific trading advice, but from a teaching perspective, if we were to get a 4-hour, even a 1-hour close at this point below about 43.83, I'd be watching for at least a pullback to retest the lows. So that would be the line of sand. But although even if we pulled back to 43.95, where we pulled back to yesterday, you see here, there's the key high. Here's the key low. See this? The run up, 50%. We all know how powerful the 50% is. So even if we pull back there in the open this morning, I'll be watching. The key levels at 43.83. That would put a kibosh for me on at least the bounce continuing, and then I'd be watching for these lows to come back into play. Keep in mind the daily cycles are still turning up. The weekly cycles are trying, but they are not turning up. We might still get another rollover play before weeklies can find more of a bottom, and then that does not mean it has to be a big bounce. It could just be a sideways correction. NASDAQ still trading above the percent beat buy, and remember, I was watching when these broke, and then it was with the close, it was a follow through. Okay, we can take a gamble on it going higher, or a shot at it going higher, not really a gamble. It wasn't for me looking to buy on the close because against the rotation zone. I'm watching, we had 15.104 key levels. That proved to be the high area yesterday. I'll be watching that area on a breakout. Above there, about 15.180 to 15.200. Then above there, about 15.270. Not actually, see, I had the slightly wrong end of the clear path. It should be 15.270. On the support basis, still the same thing. This one gets interesting because if you go low to the recent swing high, found support around 37.5. The next level would be 14.862 and then 14.800. Now, do we have a little mini double top? Yes, we do. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on. Very close. Why? Because even the first and second targets are within the 50 to 62 and into a clear path. So I am going to be keeping an eye should we get a close, and this could be on a 1-hour basis, if we got a close below 14.932. I will be keeping an eye on that. If that does not, again, there's no guarantee, this is not even confirmed, not triggered, so we could rally up into the open and invalidate it. But that's what I will keep an eye on. going into with the NASDAQ this morning. If you look at the S&P, if you look here, this did not come up to 75% harmonic, so it does not qualify. So you don't have the same setup in the S&P. The Dow, which you can obviously see the double, never triggered, and now 1, 2, 3, it's a quad bottom. Even if you go to the daily, you can't see there's. So if you're wondering, well, can I trade it on the higher time frame to double bottom in the Dow? No, because you don't see any clear rotation. There's no setup on the higher time frame, so you can't turn it into a higher time frame play. The Dow, if we do break below 34, what's the official low? 34,308. I just be watching for 34.3, 34,140, and then the major support area comes to about 33,970. Key resistance you can see with yesterday's open and sell-off and today's high hitting that open level. So that's what I'm watching, about 34.5. The only way I can get bullish in the Dow is above 34.5, and the target area will be 34,640, 34,650. Other than that, I will be paying very close attention if we break below this 34.3. Russell is trying to form a flag. Now it's turned into just a horizontal pattern. And this is, Russell is, because you break above about 1872. Another stopping point, 1880. We really have to get above 1880 to get anything going on. And then that would be into the rotation zone with 19 to 1905 being the key target. Other than that, it's caught between two very key levels. Two very key levels. So, sorry, dogs are barking. Somebody was at the front door. So that's where that sits right now. The VIX still, little move down and coming up against this 1710 area. We start getting above 1710, watching for the pullback. I'm watching to see if this trend line holds and the bottom of the rotation zone holds. So that's where that sits right now. The DAX rotating back down with the levels on. Just seeing what's key right here. We sort of have a flag pattern, but I'm going to be watching. Sorry about the dogs in the background. I'm going to be watching this 15,640 area for any. If we start getting there to below there, I'm watching for the breakdown play in the DAX, and I'm even watching for a rollover play. The only thing, I can't get bullish on the DAX right now until it can really prove itself. It has some upward cycles, but I'm watching for sell patterns in the DAX. And let's just double check something here. We do have it's a little sloppy with this way it's stair-stepped up, and I hate the ones that they're lower probabilities when they're trying to do the channel, but we don't have the close. If we get the close in the shorter term basis below 15, hold on 1 second. Hold on, everyone. that. Sorry about that, everyone. Sort of another... All right. Let's get through this. Sorry. Notes. Notes still holding the key bottom. Again, anywhere between about 109.20 to 110.07, I'm watching for a rollover and chipping away at this bottom. So not in anything bullish mode. The yield is pausing, remember, near the October highs, but any pullback that holds with the rotation zone is fine. The only thing that I really start watching is if we're going to get a close below about 415. 4.15 yield. That would be the only thing that would stop it. Still watching for the next push up. Although with the 10s pausing for a bit, this does not surprise me, but we'll be watching once it really starts breaking below this minus 57 basis points. This is very key. The dollar index, which I put yesterday, was flagging, coming back up, and now breaking out of the channeling flag pattern. So I am going to continue to watch for the dollar wrecking ball to maintain higher prices. Remember, it broke above the 200 and paused at the channel, the bigger channel, pulled back, found support at the 200 and the rotation zone, and now breaking higher. Now, the next major key areas is 103.90 to about 104. That's going to be major resistance from May. If it breaks through there, it gets really interesting for the dollar in the short term, which could put more and more pressure on stocks. Crude, I was saying, as I talked about yesterday, the target is somewhere between the 50 and the 200, with the 77 being the key support. So that's where I'm watching. Do we have a confirmed head and shoulders was the question. It's very ugly. You can see on the 4-hour, it's not well formed. And on a daily, you do not have a proper rotation, but it can still, I'd be using this to see where the targets go. For the pullback, it's in a very aggressive sell. So this is, and you have to use the flat neckline. You have to use the flat neckline. First target coming in at the 200, 76.50, 76.53. Then we have 75.18, 73.14. So if we do break below this support area, that's where I'd really start utilizing the next key targets. And the look at the final target, interestingly enough, comes down at one of the key breakout areas. This is a breakout range area, but here you see resistance, broke above it, broke below it, gap above, below, paused right here, retested right here. So this would be a key area if we did break below the 200, I'd be watching for. So those targets happen to line up very well. Good question, Christoph, back with the crude head and shoulders. Interesting enough, with dollar rallying, you got gold, silver, and copper rallying with the dollar. So keep an eye. This will start getting interesting, because normally in the recent times they've been in an inverse relationship, and now that's starting to potentially change. So are we putting in the more substantial bottom right here against the 200? That's what I'm going to be looking for, to see we get a rally, and then I'm going to be looking for the next secondary reaction to really gauge to see if this is going to hold. What else do we have? 10-year keeps climbing higher, hitting the next harmonics. 68.2. I mean, this is just marching higher, marching higher. The next key major area is not until about 73 to 75. Keep that in mind. But this is going to keep potentially unwinding bits and pieces of the carry trade, which then could strengthen the dollar even more and put pressure on the bonds. Now, the bond yields, like for 10 years, could go up more, and the bond prices could go down. So far, though, the yen holding a potential double top, 144.92 on a daily closing basis is what I'm watching for, and it's a lower probability one because it's against the rotation zone. Euro, I said we're watching for a reconnect with the 200. We hit it today. This is not a key bottoming pattern yet. We have a very big support area down here. However, we start getting close below 107.80. Could get interesting for a continued decline in the euro. The pound, the double, which never triggered, is now an official triple. So I'm still watching 126.20 on a closing basis. Bitcoin. Bitcoin technically has a little mini double right here. Right here. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on there. To see if that triggers, and that would just be a short-term bounce play into the daily rotation zone, but it would need at least a close above 26,297. What else do we have? Tesla gapping down, still watching for a rollover play. We got up to that 240.70 key area yesterday on the open, and then that's all she wrote. Again, I'm still watching for bearish plays in 207.47 below there. The only thing that would change it in the short time is if we break above about 244. NVDA earnings after the close. There is a big weekly double top pattern. It can even be traded on the daily. It is sloppy on the daily, but it's fine on the weekly. And that key low that I'll be paying attention to is 403.11. If they have everybody rushing in after earnings, it's 499, then 523 on a massive gap up. Remember, there's about 10% move priced in. 10% move. So right now it's trading 457. So that's 45 points. So that takes it roughly to 500 based off where it's trading now with that 10% move. To the upside and 10% to the downside comes in slightly above that 400. So that 403 is going to be key. Pay attention to those levels. Spiders. Today, anything on the rally will be, I'll be keeping an eye on yesterday's open, which we reversed off in the 50 and the rotation zone. So that area is 441.18. If we roll over yesterday's close, 438.15, then the next key level really isn't until 436.50. If we keep rallying above yesterday's high, not necessarily for today, but the next levels I'm using are 443 and then 443.90. This is a major resistance zone. The Qs, we're trading 364.60, 363.38 for the gap fill. Below there, this is a good one to use the harmonics, the retracement harmonics on, of 362.10 and then 360.64 on a 4-hour, 360.64, then 359.15 on a 4-hour closing basis. Resistance will be 366.55, then 368, and then 370.46. Still watching. It's against the rotation zone, so keep that in mind and really start watching that. If you're bullish on the Qs, 359.15 on a 4-hour closing basis is very key. All right. I've really got to run, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry about the disruption right now. This is not a good head and shoulders in the S&P, so don't use that as a good head and shoulders, Sterling. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow, again, we will see, but be prepared possibly for an earlier time. I will put up the live stream thing as soon as possible, and I'll talk to everyone later. Bye for now.